All right, well, it is wonderful to be with you all today. I have joined by a special guest, Roberto, and he just passed the Magento Solution Specialist exam, and really grateful to have you here, Roberto, and thank you for joining us. So I am curious to know what prompted you to get certified. Obviously, there was something that made you want to go through what I'm guessing to be a lot of work in order to become certified. So what was that impetus? What was that inspiration that brought you to this place?
Yeah, first I want to say thank you, Joseph, for this opportunity. And about this certification, I'd like to say that previously I obtained the Magento 1 certification as a front-end developer.
Okay.
And during that time, I learned a lot about Magento. I became faster, more efficient. I structured better the projects I worked on. So for these reasons, and since now in my company we are working with the new platform, the Magento 2, I decided to study for it and to bring the certification because it was a great opportunity to learn new stuff about Magento 2.
Absolutely, that's awesome, great, and I hear that is a very common reason. People are looking towards, they want to get in, they want to learn, and this is a great way to do it. So I think the next question to be interesting to know is, how did you prepare for this test? There's, especially the solution specialist, I tell people that's one of the most difficult tests, I think, in the Magento repertoire, just because, well, here's my thinking, like, developer tests, we can work through dev docs, we can work through a study guide, whatever. It's very concrete knowledge, right? But for solution specialists, yeah, there's, I don't know. Would you agree? It seems like there's maybe 50% concrete knowledge, maybe 60%, but beyond that, there's some stuff that just general industry knowledge, it's hard to, and just experiential things, it's hard to just pick up on by reading something. You have to kind of actually do it. So maybe you can shed some light as far as how you prepared for this test.
Yeah, I think the preparation is very, very important. It's so important to do it in a correct way. In my case, I analyzed all the exam topics because, as you say, for this certification, there are a lot of different topics.
Yes.
So in this first phase, I choose to understood what topics I need to focus more on. Then I started the SwiftOtter course, and it was important to do in a regular basis every day, watch the videos, read the course guide, and then also to get my hands dirty, working with the Magento test environment. This is so important because you can learn better, especially the features of Magento 2 Commerce. That previously I didn't know about that. And after this preparation, I did several tests on the SwiftOtter website. I deepened in the points where I made mistakes on the test. And finally, I watched many videos on YouTube, also from your channel and others' videos. So just to understand what I could expect from the exam. Also because I made the exam remotely, so it was the first time for me remotely. The last one was on site.
Okay.
And so I watched many videos about that.
Yes, that's interesting. I'm curious, if you're from Italy, right?
Yes.
Okay, so
Correct.
What would you have as far as some suggestions for others who are not native English speakers? Obviously, your English is outstanding, but I know that's a common pain point for many people all over the world, in that they want to pass, they want to work on the test, they want to achieve one of these certifications, but obviously they're only in English. And what were some of the things that you found helpful, like in being able to answer these difficult questions in 90 seconds or less each?
A different point respect to other certification, for example, the developers one. is that it's not for developers. So
Right.
you don't have to know just how to write a language in PHP, JavaScript, or other languages, but you need to know how to deal with real work situation
Hmm.
that can happen on Magento 2. So um, many questions are also so long, and you need time to read it and think about it. So it's very important that you have a good knowledge of English.
Hmm.
And my suggestions are to read as much as possible the Magento documentation. Watching many videos on YouTube related to it, because you can better understand
Right.
English, especially technical English about these topics. And also in your spare times, watch movies in English.
Okay.
I use this little trick because it helped me a lot, since I'm not a native speaker, to improve my understanding of this language.
That's great. That's great. Yeah, and I've heard, actually, I think you're the first one that's mentioned the English movies, but I've also heard like newspapers and obviously just books straight up just for entertainment. But I think that's also great, because you're having to also follow a storyline, a plot, in the movie, and um, in that kind of forces you in the moment to be able to understand better what's being said in English. And so I think that is a great suggestion. So, what did you think of the test? I know you mentioned it's difficult, but what were some of your takeaways? Obviously you put a lot of effort into preparing for this, and I have to say I think that's one of the biggest differentiators to those who pass versus those who fail any Magento certification is the effort. Obviously, you can use the best materials, etc., but you know. Um, the most safe vehicle in the world is not going to protect somebody if they're a stupid driver, sort of thing. So, you've put a lot of effort into this. So, as a result, you got to this test day. What did you think of it? Like, what were some of your thoughts even then coming out of this, taking the test?
Yeah, as you said before, it's really, really difficult. So you need an extra effort every day. Every day you need to study, to be persistent on it, because I can compare it with the Magento 1 certification as a front-end developer, and this has a clearly higher level of difficulty,
Okay.
because you need to know many different arguments. In my case, I found the most difficulties about, for example, taxes, the difference between Europe and the USA,
Yes.
GDPR rules, PCI standards, and also the many unique features that are available in Magento 2 Commerce, and there are so many.
Yes, sir.
So I think that you need a lot of study about it, but after this effort, you can do that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. Okay, that's good. That is really good. Yeah, I couldn't agree more, and especially just to call out your mention of consistency. And
Yes.
that's one thing I often see with people who fail any one of the Magento tests. They'll talk about how maybe they studied really hard for a little while, and then of course they get onto another big work project, or their PM pulls them off into something else, or they had a baby or something like that, and in their understandably, their ability to concentrate dissipates. And so, but like what you're saying is, even if it's small amounts of time every day, but it's that consistency allows you to not regress, but allows you to continue. So, I guess let me ask you this: I didn't prepare you for this question, but what things would you say were helpful for you in maintaining that consistency so that you were able to study every day? Because I think for most people, especially those of us, like I'm sure you have one of these things, it's kind of a nice thing to have a phone, but it also can be a curse, it's like so many are connected things. So how did you maintain this consistency in your study?
I think that a really important thing is to avoid the distractions, avoid extra video games, TV,
Sure.
movies, and other stuff. Just reserve a small amount of time to do what you love. And in my case, for example, after work, every day I reserved 1, 2, 3 hours depending on the day, and in the weekend I study more. And I repeat it, the most important thing is to avoid all kind of distractions, because the more you are focused on, the more you understand, you remember. So it's easier than to do this effort.
Well put. Excellent. All right, that is good advice. Very good advice. So as we kind of wrap this up, how would you say this certification has helped you as of today? You know, in your whatever ways that you can, you know, work through that you've tangibly noticed a difference. What would you say has helped you through the certification process?
The first thing that this certification helped me is to know the many native features of Magento 2, open source and commerce. There are so many of them. For example, the multi-source inventory that are also really advanced and complex. And so many times it can happen that as a developer, maybe you think about create a feature from your own, but maybe it's already given with Magento, so you don't need to reinvent the wheel.
Absolutely.
But you can reuse a native feature, or maybe extend it, because in sometimes you have the 90% of the feature, you just needed to customize the 10%. So this is one great stuff to learn about Magento 2. The other important thing is that bringing this certification as solution specialist, I had the possibility to expand my network on LinkedIn, to connect with other people who are working with Magento 2. Many people asking me how I passed the exam and the other stuff. So it's a good way to connect with other people and to have new opportunity, or also for your career. So I recommend to all who work with Magento 2 to study for it and bring this certification, because it's a good choice.
Very good, Roberto. That is wonderful. Good advice. I'm glad to hear that it has been a help to you thus far, because obviously that's good, and even better, I think you're going to continue to realize the benefits through the next 5 years professionally, as you work with people, as they continue to see your knowledge, your investment in yourself, your career, all of that. So I think that's really good. And you know, it's funny, today I noticed that we're both wearing blue plaid shirts. So hey, you know, great minds think alike. What can you say? So that's awesome. All right. Well, I appreciate this, Roberto. Thank you for coming on. Thank you for sharing your experiences, and I definitely wish you the best of luck as you continue forward. And you know, hopefully our paths will cross again soon.
Thank you. Thanks to you. Thanks also for your courses, your great materials that are helping me a lot. And I hope that we can see next time in another certification.
Absolutely. That sounds good. Good. Thank you for coming on.